So one of the biggest concepts around the whole identity profile, which moves away from a single typing system, is to not only lean into the idea of what your most efficient number is going to be, your headquarters, your home base, the place that you go to sleep and you wake up every night and every morning. We know that's a part of who you are. But we also want to talk about what is the experience as a human being when you encounter a number that may be very low for you? And what is the difference in that relationship between somebody who expresses a number high or efficiently, or they express it low or inefficient? What does it look like for us to have conversations around what happens to you if somebody interferes with your highest number? And what happens if somebody introduces your lowest number? Does it trigger you in a similar way, or can it have a trigger? What does it look like to be really efficient and really strong and really effective in a high number, but then be struggling to introduce or to utilize that number if it's low for you? So long story short, this series is going to be about conversations in each of the numbers as it relates to when it's high for you, when it's low for you, how it impacts you if somebody interferes with that goal, or if somebody introduces that unfamiliar space. Thanks for joining. So let's talk about 9 energy. If that's a space that's familiar for you or unfamiliar for you, if it's a space that you're comfortable with or you don't often engage with, what does it mean to have 9 energy be high or low? First thing I want you to do for all my 9 friends that are watching this video is do what 9s are really good at, which is just take a second and take a deep breath. Remember, every single number in the Enneagram is available to you as a natural resource and a natural capacity. For the folks who are efficient in a 9, we know it's the natural human capacity for peace. We know that it's the capacity and the motivation for saying, what does it look like for things to be serene, undisrupted, stable, steady, quiet, placid, serene? What does it look like to be able to have the gift of rest? This is one of the things that oftentimes, especially in the culture that we live in most forward-thinking, progressive, capitalism-based, entrepreneurship-based countries and spaces, rest is not something that's often modeled or taught. So if you're not used to rest, it's a really good opportunity to see what an efficient, healthy, capable 9 is doing. So what does it mean to have the capacity for peace, the motivation of serenity, and the gift of rest? It means that in a really healthy place, you know what it looks like to slow down. You know what it looks like to say, maybe I can just take a deep breath, step back, and give myself a chance to catch up and recover. There's a rest and digest recuperation, rest and digest reproduction system that is naturally involved in all of our bodies. It's called your parasympathetic system. It's what helps to restore the human experience. It's what allows us to sleep and digest food and be able to do things like take a deep breath. The challenge is that if you're really high in 9 and you're too efficient, that you haven't reined it in and you've become so autopilot, you may end up hibernating. A bear is able to hibernate for 6 months out of the year because they're able to lower their heart rate, they're able to slow their metabolism, and they're able to shut all the way down. What happens if a human being, especially a 9, inadvertently, as a result of their own skill and their own capacity and their own developed resources, falls asleep to their own life? What does it look like if you hibernate? So yes, a 9 can be really good at decreasing and de-escalating all of the spaces because they know what it looks like to shut things down in a rest-based, disconnected way. But we have to be conscientious that intentional rest and falling asleep are 2 different things. Sleep is involuntary. You don't choose to go to sleep. In fact, when you stop trying, you oftentimes succeed. So sleep is an involuntary process that the body does for us. Rest is an intentional process that we intentionally enact or choose to do when we know that we need the chance to slow down. So I want you to think about, if you're high in a 9 energy, what is your relationship with checking out, falling asleep, with even hibernating for extended periods of time, and completely disconnecting from the connection with yourself, with your body, with other relationships, with the world at large? What does it look like to be able to intentionally rest and go, you know what, I have the capacity to slow down and be with myself and by myself in quiet spaces? If you're really low in a 9, 8 and 9 are both low for me. I can tell you for sure it is an unnatural, difficult, uncomfortable space for me to even slow down the way I speak. It is unnatural. I have to intentionally do it. So as we go through each of the numbers, you can really quickly determine, is it a high number for me or is it a low number for me based on, is it natural or is it unnatural? I can look at the gift of a 9 in terms of rest and say, that's not natural for me. It doesn't come easily. It may come easily for you. And then we've got to look at the nuance of what it means to rest. So this is a conceptual piece, but I want to just point to, if you're low in 9, what is your relationship with peace? What is your relationship with serenity? What is your relationship with rest? Because oftentimes if you're low in 9, let's say for instance, if you're high in an 8 or you're high in a 3, I'm high in 2 and 3. What does it look like for me to sit still for long enough to start to fidget, to struggle with boredom, to struggle with quietness, to struggle with stillness physically? Because maybe my subconscious and maybe my survival-based systems say, if things get too quiet, when is something going to jump out and attack me? When is something going to jump out and startle me? What is going to happen if I don't move into a space, if I don't engage, if I don't do forward momentum? What does it look like to lose momentum and to lose ground and to wait too long to show up? The 9 space is the gift and the capacity to be able to say, what does it look like to just pull back, to slow down, or to rest and do a pit stop so that I can refuel? Because the parasympathetic system, that rest and digest system, is your refuel system. Literally, it helps you to refuel. So we want to be able to restore some of that energy. But again, coming back to those concepts of introduction and interference, if you're high in a 9 and somebody introduces disruption, they interfere with your serenity, they interfere with your quiet spaces, they introduce something that is the antonym to peace. Remember, we can talk about synonyms and antonyms, that if somebody interferes with peace, it'll trigger a 9. But if somebody introduces the antonym to peace, they'll also trigger somebody who's high in 9. That's a very different experience than if you are very low in 9 and somebody introduces the idea of being still, being quiet, and resting, even for a short period of time. Think about for yourself, when is the last time, if you don't have a healthy or a consistent or a normal, natural relationship with a 9 space, when is the last time that you sat still for 3, 4, 5 minutes, even 30 seconds? With our nature of relationship with technology and the fact that all of us have a device in or near us almost all day, when is the last time that you just sat and you took 2 deep breaths? 2. Now, how many of you are watching that and going, I need you to keep going with the video? How many of you are like me and your eyes are fluttering and you're going, oh my God, I just did 2 deep breaths and it feels like a lifetime passed? That is so different for somebody who is not naturally oriented to stillness, quietness, rest, or decreasing the number of inputs that we're used to on a daily basis. So if somebody requires of me, if somebody introduces a space where I didn't willingly ask for the chance to slow down and somebody reins me in, if I'm low in a 9, introducing that kind of space can feel claustrophobic. It can feel like I'm drowning. It can feel really unnatural and really uncomfortable to be put into a place without intentionally choosing it and feeling like all of a sudden you're suffocating. So if you're high in a 9 and somebody all of a sudden disrupts that space or introduces the opposite of peace, which is tension or conflict, you could be triggered quickly. If you're low in a 9 and somebody requires you to sit still or to slow down or to be bored or to disconnect or to take a nap or to take a vacation or to take a sabbatical, and all of a sudden we're in the culture that doesn't even know how to use our PTO time, what does it look like for you to start to freak out if somebody introduces a space where they go, can you find some peace? Can you find some rest? And can you find the opportunity to just engage in some serene spaces? So as you navigate these different conversations, keep not only looking at the synonym of peace, but look at the antonym of peace. And ask yourself, what's my relationship with these words? Does one come naturally? Does one feel unnatural? Does a word show up and go, man, I have a definite lived experience with that, or I have no idea what this looks like, and it's something that I might want to consider exercising, because every single number is naturally in you. So this is not a conversation about capacity. It's a conversation about utilization. And a 9 space gives us a chance to use a gift called rest. So remember to take deep breaths, give yourself a chance to be still, and if it feels uncomfortable, remember, if it hurts for less than a week, it is uncomfortable, not traumatic. So give yourself a chance to engage in these exercises and go, this is weird, it's not going to kill me.